Welcome back to Chat Like a Native.
We are jumping right in today.
We really are, because what we're looking at is, I think, a genuinely revolutionary way to get faster and more automatic in spoken English.
Yeah, and it's all about using the time you already have. You're not trying to find new hours in the day to study.
Exactly. The benefit for you, listening, is you can turn your daily life, chores, watching TV, a quick chat, into real, effective English training.
You get that smooth, natural fluency without the stress, without that feeling of, I have to study now.
Right. And the most important point here is that fluency. It's not a knowledge test. It's a skill. It's about fast response.
It's muscle memory for your mouth, really. And to build that, you need tons of repetition in these low-pressure, small moments.
It just completely flips the idea of practice on its head.
And to help you remember it all, we're calling it the RAP English approach.
RAP English. I like it.
Simple. R for repetition, which leads to A for automaticity, all in a pressure-free way.
RAP English. That's the shortcut. Okay, so let's get into this, because I think every intermediate learner knows this feeling, this frustration. You can understand a complex movie, you can read an article, but then someone asks you a simple question on the street and you just freeze.
Yeah, your brain just goes blank. You know the words are in there somewhere.
But you can't find them fast enough.
Then that's the whole problem right there. That gap between understanding and speaking. We treat speaking like a math problem, where we have to, assemble the grammar and find the right word.
But it's not.
No, it's a motor skill. It's like riding a bike. You don't think about it, you just do it. It has to be an instant, real-time response.
So, wait a second. This feels a bit counterintuitive. I've always been told I need like a solid hour of focused study. Are these little 5-minute bursts really enough?
That is a great question. And the answer is yes. They're powerful because they're not formal study. Think about learning to drive. You don't get good by just reading the driver's manual for an hour a day. You get good by doing it, by checking the mirror, changing gear over and over and over.
Until you don't even think about it.
Exactly. These small moments are perfect because they're low pressure, you do them every single day anyway, and they're real. You're actually using the language to do something.
And I found this idea of the holiday trap really insightful. You take a break, you come back, and you feel so slow.
Yeah, you feel like you've lost everything.
Yeah.
That happens because you stop using the language completely. But with these small moments, you keep it alive.
So you protect your progress.
You maintain that consistency. It's always about consistency over intensity.
So how do we actually structure this? There's a simple plan for this, the 3-moment system.
Right. And we're not adding anything to your day. We're just sort of relabeling it. You pick 3 moments you already have.
Okay, what's number 1?
Number 1 is the kitchen moment. Lots of action. Cooking, dishes, making tea.
Got it. Kitchen, number 2.
The living room moment. This is your low energy time. Watching TV, listening to music, just relaxing.
And the 3rd?
The connection moment. Any short communication, a text, a quick call, a visitor coming over.
That seems so manageable. But there's a golden rule here, isn't there? And this is the part I think learners will struggle with at first.
Yes, the rule is, in each little moment, you pick just one short English pattern, and you repeat it.
Not 10 new words.
No, just one pattern. This is how the brain builds that automatic motor pathway. It's intense, targeted focus.
But, won't I get incredibly bored saying, can you pass the salt for a whole week?
But that's the difference between study and training. When you're at the gym, you do the same bicep curl over and over.
Right, to build the muscle.
We're doing the same thing. We're training the grammatical muscle. Once that structure is automatic, you can plug any vocabulary you want into it.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's start with the first moment then, building that engine with kitchen English. Why the kitchen?
It's perfect because everything is an action. And actions are verbs. Verbs are the engine of speaking. If you get your core verbs down, your fluency just explodes.
So the goal is super small. Maybe 2 minutes, just one task, like making tea.
Exactly. And you start with the most basic pattern there is, describing what you're doing right now.
The I'm plus verbing structure.
Yes, the present continuous. I'm washing the tomatoes. I'm looking for the lid. I'm pouring the water. You're just narrating your reality.
You're connecting the physical action to the language in real time.
And then, to make it interactive, you use the second pattern, requests.
Can you plus verb?
The can you pattern.
You pass the knife.
Can you pass the knife? Can you stir this? Can you turn it down? It's simple, it's polite, and it forces you to actually interact.
And it highlights that fluent English isn't long, complex sentences. It's often these really short, functional phrases.
Oh, absolutely. Things like, It's almost ready.
Careful, it's hot.
Have a taste. Simple structure, but you use them constantly. If they're automatic, you sound so much more confident.
And you can even make a game out of it, right? The English chef.
Yeah, this is great. One person is the chef, and they can only give instructions in English. Wash the dishes, mix it slowly.
And the other person?
They just need short responses. Okay, I can't find it. Done. It's pure practice for everyone with zero pressure.
I love that. So from the practical kitchen, we move to the social side. This is where you connect the language to, well, to emotion.
Games. Games are so important because they create feelings, excitement, laughter, even a little bit of frustration.
And emotion is like a super glue for memory.
It is. You'll never forget the phrase, "That's not fair," if you learned it while your brother was cheating at a card game.
Ha, too true. So what are the phrases we need? The ones that work for any game.
The classics. Your turn. I win. Let's play again.
And a really useful one. I don't get it.
Oh, that's crucial. It just means I don't understand. It's so much more natural than saying, please explain the rules again.
So to level this up a little, there's the one-sentence challenge.
Yes, this is a great little step. For every turn, you have to say one full sentence. Use simple frames like, I'm going to.
So instead of just pointing, you say, I'm going to pick the red card.
Or, I hope I get a 6. Or, I need one more space to win. It forces you out of single words and into real sentences.
But what if your family doesn't speak English? How do you practice them?
This is where quiet English comes in. The practice doesn't have to be out loud.
You mean just thinking it?
You can say it in your head or whisper it to yourself. The point is, you're still forming the sentence. You're still training those mental muscles.
That's a great tip. Okay, let's talk about the third moment, the connection moment. This is about visiting relatives, hosting people, real social situations.
And visits are perfect because they are so predictable. The language is very repetitive.
Greetings, offers, small talk.
Exactly. If you can master those little interactions, your social confidence will soar.
So let's start with greetings. You need a few simple, warm ones ready to go.
Things like, long time no see, or how was the trip?
And then you move straight to the essential offer pattern.
Yes, this is the cornerstone of politeness.
Yeah.
Would you like? Plus a noun. Would you like tea or coffee? Would you like some cake?
The script is so simple.
But natural conversation doesn't just stop there, right? You need to use follow-up questions.
To show you're actually listening.
Right. If someone says the trip was really long, you don't just say, okay. You say,
No.
oh, really? Why? Or even more informally, how come?
It keeps the conversation going.
And all this builds up to what we can call the hosting script. A simple, repeatable sequence you can memorize.
So it's automatic?
Totally. Hi, come in. Take a seat. Would you like tea or coffee? Make yourself comfortable. It just sounds so warm and natural.
And while we're on the topic of family, we need to talk vocabulary for a second. We need more than just mother and father.
Oh, for sure. You have to be able to talk about blended families. So words like step-parent or half-sister.
And definitely the in-laws.
You absolutely need in-laws. Mother-in-law, brother-in-law. You can't navigate adult life without them.
What about close friends?
Yeah, that's important too. Phrases like, he's like a brother to me, or she's a real mother figure. It allows you to describe relationships, not just label them.
Okay, so we've done the high-energy kitchen and the social stuff. Now let's slow it down. Let's talk about what they call soft practice, or sofa English.
Right, because not all practice has to be energetic. Sometimes you're tired. The sofa is a perfect place for quiet, receptive practice.
So with TV and movies, what's the method?
It's super simple. Watch with English subtitles. Find one short line that you like, something that sounds really natural,
Okay.
and just repeat it 5 times. That's it. You're just collecting useful conversational phrases.
So things like, are you serious? Or it's up to you.
Or I didn't mean that. The little phrases that connect everything together.
And there's a cool trick here, too, for active thinking. The pause and predict trick.
Yes, this is fantastic for training fast thinking.
Yeah.
You just pause the show and ask yourself, what will happen next?
And you answer in one sentence.
I think he will leave. Or, I bet she's going to apologize. It forces your brain to generate an idea quickly, under pressure, just like a real conversation.
That's a brilliant little exercise. And what about writing? Can that help your speaking?
It definitely can. They call it journal English. Writing helps you organize your thoughts so they're less messy when you try to speak them.
But keep it simple.
Oh, absolutely. The 5-sentence holiday journal is a perfect model. Today I did. I enjoyed. I ate. I felt. Tomorrow I will.
It's a simple frame, no pressure.
But even better than writing for speaking practice is speaking. The voice note journal. Just record a 30-second audio note on your phone. Today was busy. I learned a new phrase. I felt good. It's pure speaking practice with no audience. That's RAP English in its purest form.
Okay, so let's try to boil this whole philosophy down. There are 3 big rules for success here.
3 simple rules.
Rule number 1, speak shorter. We think fluency means long, beautiful sentences, but it doesn't.
No. Clear English is short English.
Yeah.
1 minute. Sounds good. I'm not sure. Get the thought out cleanly. That's the priority.
Rule number 2, repeat. And we have to get over the idea that repetition is boring.
It's not boring. It's training. You repeat songs you love. You repeat hello every day. Repetition is how you make things automatic.
And the 3rd rule, use safe zones.
Yes. Build your confidence where it's safe. With your kids, with a close friend, or just talking to yourself. You build the foundation there, and then you can take it into more difficult situations.
Okay, let's troubleshoot, because people will try this and run into problems. First one, shyness.
Shyness is just fear of being judged. So you start privately. Whisper. Use voice notes. Then practice with just one person you trust. You build up slowly.
Okay, next problem. This one is huge. I try to speak English, but my family just answers me in our native language.
That is so common. The key is to change your definition of success.
How so?
Your job is your output, not their input. If you successfully say your one English sentence, can you pass the SALT? And they understand you? That's a win.
Even if they answer in another language?
Yes. That one sentence still counts. You did your repetition.
Okay, and the last one. I just don't know what to say.
This is where conversation frames are your best friend. They give you a structure.
Like a template.
Exactly. What do you think about? Tell me about. What should we do next? The frame does the heavy lifting, so your brain just has to find 1 or 2 words to fill the blank. It makes it so much easier.
The whole point of this, then, is to find a calm, natural way to have English in your life, even when you're tired, even when you're busy.
It's about using the moments you already have. Stop waiting for the perfect time to study, because it's never going to come.
The 7-day challenge they suggest is a perfect start. Day 1, kitchen verbs. Day 5, repeat a TV line. Day 7, record a 30-second voice note.
Tiny steps. But they add up so fast, it becomes less of a chore and more of an instinct.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a challenge, a very specific one. Think about your family life. Identify the one short pattern, maybe a greeting, a request, an offer, that you use all the time in your native language. Just one. And for the next 7 days, your only job is to translate and use that single pattern in English.
Don't try to do everything.
No, just that one phrase. The consistency of that one automatic phrase used in your real daily life, that can change everything. Give REP English a shot this week.